Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammāṃ Saṅghāṃ Namasāmi. Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Upanayiko Pachatam Veditabo Vinyuhite. Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Wednesday evening with the Clear Mountain Monastery community. This evening, I thought to talk about what I'm calling the Nibbāna mantra, which is basically a short phrase which occurs in many different suttas as a suggested recollection of the peace of Nibbāna. And it is just a phrase. It does have a meaning. It's not just any kind of magical syllables. And it can be used by anyone. It's said that this is the heart of what's called upassamanusati, or recollection of calm, recollection of stillness. And it can achieve its full potential in someone who's enlightened, but can certainly be used by any of us on our path in that direction. So just recollecting the goal and pointing back again and again to our present moment experience. So before going into this, I thought we would meditate. And as usual, after meditation, maybe just 5 minutes or so, I'll give some reflections on this mantra, on this Dhamma phrase, which you can use like a mantra or use like a more reflective tool, depending on how you're so disposed. And then we'll open it up to questions. So people can put questions in the chat at any time, and we'll get to those shortly. So I will post the full, we're calling the Nibbāna mantra on the screen there, and we'll read it in Pāli and in English. And for those who are inclined, suggest maybe even just closing your eyes and seeing if you can take in the syllables, take in these words first in Pāli and then in English, and bring them into your present moment experience. See how they affect your mind's relationship with your meditation object. See if they can help with this task of letting go. So the mantra in Pāli, the phrase in Pāli is Etaṃ santaṃ, Etaṃ paṇītaṃ, yadidaṃ sabba-saṅkhāra-samatho, sabb-ūpadhi-paṭinissaggo, taṇhā-kkhayo, virāgo, nirodho, Nibbānanaṁ. This is peaceful. This is sublime. That is, the stilling of all activities, the relinquishing of all acquisitions, the destruction of craving, dispassion, cessation, Nibbāna. And in a daily meditation practice, or if you're just sitting for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, if you drop this heart practice, if you can bring this heart practice, these reflections into really any meditation session on a daily basis, and using whatever your meditation object, your general meditation object is, this can help with letting the other things that are superfluous, the other extra things that accrete and tend to grow up around a meditation object, these can let those all just relax. So whether you're with the breath or you're feeling bodily sensations, what do these sounds do? What do these words of the Buddha do to your experience of body and mind? Etaṃ santaṃ, etaṃ paṇītaṃ, yadidaṃ sabba-saṅkhāra-samatho, sabb-ūpadhi-paṭinissaggo, taṇhā-kkhayo, virāgo nirodho Nibbānanaṁ. This is peaceful. This is sublime. That is the stilling of all activities, the relinquishing of all acquisitions, the destruction of craving, dispassion, cessation, Nibbāna. And if you're in a spot or in a location where you can't sit down, or if things are going on around you and it's not a time for formal sitting, still these beautiful words can bring some reorientation into your life, especially as you become more and more familiar with the words, the context, and even more than that, the feeling, both the physical feeling, these words in English or in Pāli, really any language, can set in motion a whole string of physical relaxation. Etaṃ santaṃ, etaṃ paṇītaṃ, yadidaṃ sabba-saṅkhāra-samatho, sabb-ūpadhi-paṭinissaggo, taṇhā-kkhayo, virāgo nirodho Nibbānanaṁ. This is peaceful. This is sublime. That is the stilling of all activities, the relinquishing of all acquisitions, the destruction of craving, dispassion, cessation, Nibbāna. So I'll go a bit more into the meaning of each of these terms, but really with a Dhamma talk, or whether it's the person giving the talk or if one is listening to a talk, really Ajahn Jeff has suggested at times just maybe only paying attention to, giving maybe just 10% or even less of the mind to the actual words that are being said, and just maintaining your mindfulness with the other 90% or so. That's a high bar, but perhaps especially with this meditation, this turning of attention to stillness. It's very important to be recollecting this. This is our path, the path of stillness, and it's the direction of our path, regardless of the object. Yeah, hopefully all of us, whether you're Buddhist or not Buddhist or pseudo Buddhist or half Buddhist or whatever you want to call yourself or you don't want to call yourself, uh, hopefully we're inclining towards a position of non-greed and non-anger, and hopefully towards non-delusion as well. And that begins to actually be well defined in a Buddhist context and take on some meaning, basically seeing how we create suffering for ourselves. So, jumping into some of this meaning, and feel free, I will show the actually the mantra or the this phrase. It's interesting. The Pali Canon, it's arguable, the word manta, which is the Pali equivalent of mantra, which is a Sanskrit word, doesn't really occur in the same context or the same with the same meaning as it has come to mean in English, of kind of a phrase, a short phrase which you say over and over again to still the mind. Manta in Pali could just mean thinking, or it could be a kind of a repeated recollection or reflection that you're paying attention to. In the Dhammapada, there's a verse which says that non-repetition or non-remembering of a manta is its fault. So if you want to keep your mantras alive, then you need to keep them ready at hand, ready in mind. And in this context, with the Pali, you do find some protective, what are considered protective or paritta verses, like the Karaniya Metta Sutta has become something which is chanted almost like a mantra in Buddhist countries. I'm sure there's probably don't know the meaning, but when the Buddha was giving it, certainly was hoping to convey the meaning of all the words. Similar with the Mangala Sutta, that's just a paritta which is chanted in Pali, oftentimes without people knowing the meaning. The Atanatya Sutta, really, a long sutta in the discourse in the Digha Nikaya, the long discourses of the Buddha. This is another one which is said to have protective powers. And I think if you really take any phrase of the Buddha, especially if it becomes increasingly meaningful for you, if you potentize the text, the phrase in your mind through your concentration, through giving attention to it, through repeated internal awareness and recollection of it, then you are making it potent. You're making it a protection. And that's definitely true with this, which is in the Visuddhimagga. It's given as basically the phrase which is at the heart of upasamanusati, recollection of peace. So we'll take a closer look at each part of it. So, and please, you can reference, at least I believe on Facebook and on YouTube, you can look in the chat. The full text is in Pali and English. So try to memorize it. It's not long. Chanting it doesn't take that much time. And if you just recite it, say probably if you recite it 108 times, if you have got a mala, then it'll be in your head. And there's nothing especially magic or protecting about the Pali, other than that it has been recited by generations and generations, both of people aspiring towards the final goal of complete liberation and by people who've achieved that goal, including the Buddha himself in many different suttas, which you can also see referenced in the notes on YouTube. So the first part is Etaṃ santaṃ. This is peaceful. Etaṃ santaṃ. And with any real powerful mantra or powerful verse of the Buddha, uh, you can really zoom into any part of it. I often talk about the Buddha's discourses being hyperlinked in the sense that one word or one phrase, uh, stock phrase, or these words appear again and again and are defined in different contexts, in different discourses. And you see this, it becomes this whole interlocking web of teachings, this whole net of meaning, which you move into and start feeling more and more comfortable with. So all of the words in this phrase are deeply meaningful. And if you learn the Pāli, then you can see where they occur in different settings versus the English, where, certainly the word santaṃ, the most consequential words of this phrase, are translated in many different ways. So Etaṃ means this, and it really is more emphatic than other pronouns, demonstrative pronouns. It's both directing and it's emphatic. So this, and you can think of that pointing right at your own heart, in line with the phrase which we've talked about before of Sanditikaṃ Nibbānaṁ akalikam ehipasikam opanayikam pachatam veditabam vinyuhi ti, which means Nibbāna is here and now. Nibbāna is apparent here and now. It's timeless, encouraging investigation, leading inwards. So this here, Nibbāna is here, Etaṃ, right here. And if you're that has can have more and more and deeper meaning as our practice develops. And if you're not comfortable with the idea that Nibbāna is here somewhere right now, you don't feel enlightened, and the idea that it is somehow underneath all this, if you find that, I know some maybe very orthodox Theravadins, even though that is said in that Nibbāna is here and now, timeless, it can become in the minds of some very orthodox interpreters a bit problematic when you suss it out. But you don't have to go there. You can just say either Nibbāna is Etaṃ here, or this here, or pointing towards Nibbāna. What Etaṃ is modifying is the last word in the mantra, in the phrase Nibbānaṁ. So Etaṃ, this Nibbāna is what? This is our goal, and it is santaṃ, peaceful. This comes from the root us, to be. It's a present participle, beingness, or what comes to, that's one meaning of santaṃ. It's that which is just being. Another meaning is, it's actually a different word, but coming from a root which means to calm, to just relax. This is santaṃ. And you get it with this SE sounds. Santaṃ, this is peaceful, peace. Santaṃ, this is peaceful. And then letting that flush your meditation, flush your mind, fill your mind, drench, steep, fill, and pervade, as the jhana deep meditation formula goes. So this is not only peaceful, but it is sublime. Paṇītaṃ. This has the root ni, which means to lead, and pa is leading forward or leading upwards towards. And paṇītaṃ means that which is refined, that which is sublime, that which is, it's better. This is a good shift of priority. So I've used this phrase in many different contexts. Just today, knowing that I'd be giving this talk, I was using it while I'm currently visiting some family. So using it while going on a walk with my mother. We're having conversations, but even in the midst of the conversation, like Etaṃ santaṃ, this is peaceful, and it just Etaṃ paṇītaṃ, this is sublime, and it just reorients, from not to totally dislodge myself from the having a moment with my mother, but more actually bringing me deeper into more meaningful connection. Like, I don't need to get spin myself out on whatever particular strand of conversation we're having, which are enjoyable and delightful. But yeah, this perspective in between the sentences, in between the words, this is peaceful. And what is that? And this is just the question. This is something which a good mantra can do, is hook your attention. Ajahn Pasana will sometimes translate the word chanda, which is oftentimes translated in other places more often as wholesome desire, but he translates it as interest. So you need to have chanda, you need to have interest in your meditation object. And a good mantra does that. A good teaching does that, in that it hooks your attention. This is peaceful. This is sublime. What is the this? I'm going on with another my daily activities, but coming back, what is this? And why would the Buddha suggest that we should reflect in this way? This is peaceful. This is sublime, and you can just look at that, and hopefully it will grab your attention. That's pull it in this direction of ekagata, translated as one-pointedness or unification, or even better, as wholeheartedness. Ekagata, bring your whole heart into this oneness of interest. This is peaceful. This is sublime. This is higher than, whatever other kind of random stuff one might be thinking about. So, what is peaceful? What is sublime? Yadidaṃ, which just means that is, basically. Sabba-saṅkhāra-samatho. Sabba is all. So this is a good comparative adjective. So whatever you're doing in your daily life, this reflection, Etaṃ santaṃ, Etaṃ paṇītaṃ, sabba-saṅkhāra-samatho. That is the stilling of all activities is peaceful. The stilling of all activities is sublime. So all activities, and it just makes it totalizing. So I might think my email that I'm writing is the most important thing, but the Buddha would say actually stilling that. So stilling the samatha, again, this is has the same root as santaṃ. So samatha, santaṃ, samat, calming, relaxing, just letting go in many ways. Saṅkhāras, often translated here as activities, otherwise translated as mental formations, mental habits, concoctions is a translation. But just, it's all the movement. It's our complete obsession with whatever. All of our obsessions start, and our obsessions are saṅkhāras, and they start from just the tiniest saṅkhāra, the tiniest momentum and movement forward, just movement out of a still place, a still heart, a quiet mind. When you sit a meditation retreat, say it's 10 days or more, you find these, hopefully you will if you've ever sat one, or if you are thinking about sitting one in the future. This is the value of longer meditation retreats, because you can find these moments of opening up where you're sitting there and then the mind becomes quiet, and you notice that actually this feels more home than home. This feels more true than all of the other stories that I concoct. And you can see, the more you become familiar with this peace, that these moments of peace, these moments of stillness and quiet, they make stark contrast of all of the things we like, the things we're addicted to doing, all of our plans and investigations and whatever. A moment of peace where you're just absolutely content in the present moment, doing very, very minimal saṅkhāra-ing. This kara, the root there is kr, which is the same as karma, basically making very minimal, much less karma than you're used to in your daily life on the level of mind. You just see the peace there. And then this type of recollection that the stilling, the samatha, the relaxation of sabba, all sankharas, all going out, all of that first little niggling. Yeah, when you become familiar with this peace, this settling, letting go, letting the body just sit on the cushion, letting the mind just sit in a knowing presence, then you see it when it starts to jiggle on its way out. And those are the initial sankharas, the concoctions, which is just this just multiplication and proliferation of thought. So just relaxing, and the stilling of all of that is peaceful. It's sublime. The Buddha continues that sabb-ūpadhi-paṭinissaggo, the relinquishing of all acquisitions, is peaceful. It's sublime. So here we have sabba, again, all in this. Yeah, you might think, oh, what, my email, does that include my email? Yeah, the relinquishing of all acquisitions and our attachment to email, our attachment to whatever it is a level of this upadhi. Upadhi is a very broad term in Pāli. Here it's acquisitions. It's also translated as substratum of existence. What that is all about is a bit of a mystery, but what it's pointing to is that when you let go of all upadhi, this tendency to upa, going towards da, placing down forwards. When you let go of this acquisitions, the opposite of upadhi, when you let go of upadhis, that is Nibbāna. So paṭinissaggo, pati, and again, you might think, what's up with all this Pāli stuff? Not interested. It's cool to learn some Pāli, yeah? And you learn that it's a puzzle language. It's got these different parts. You've got maybe just 20 prefixes. Like here we've got upa in upadhi, you've got pati, and you've got ni in paṭinissaggo. And these have their own meanings, which can modify the root word. And pati means to move back. So upa means to move forward or move up. Ni means to move down. And all of these are clues, not just for the linguistic meaning, but when you start bringing a mantra or a phrase like this into your life, into your meditation, it's a movement of the body. It's a movement of the mind. Back, down. Pati is back, away. Ni is just letting down. Strij is the root here for sug. Sagga is moving, shrig is attachment or kind of a stickiness, sticky holding. So you're moving back and down away from our tendency to just smear onto and kind of glom onto and grasp after all the things we love. And when we relinquish, that's relinquishment. The upadhis, which include the 5 aggregates, they include craving, all the different types of attachment. When you let go of that, then that is peaceful. That is sublime. Taṇhā-kkhayo. Taṇhā is thirst. Literally, it's thirst. It's when you're feeling just totally dehydrated and thirsty. That's taṇhā. The more common usage is craving. It also means craving. But this really basic meaning of that which thirsts, that which just is unsatisfied and needs to quench, just a seemingly infinitely dry sponge of desires. That's taṇhā. And kkhayo is, here it's the destruction, but can also just mean the wasting away or the elimination of thirst. Basically quenching. Let's think about it, the quenching of thirst. You've found something and again, you can find this in many ways. Pulling away from the gross forms of our different desires, which hurt other people, hurt ourselves, hurt the body, damage the body, damage other people's bodies. But yeah, moving in a meditative direction to being able to, just let this thirst be quenched. That is peaceful. That is sublime. Virāga, dispassion. Dispassion is sublime. Dispassion is peaceful. Nirodho. Nirodho is translated here as cessation. Rud is an obstacle, or it can mean even to roll. Ni, as we mentioned before, is the prefix, which means down. So you're just letting this momentive rolling to just stop, to just cease. Or you're letting the obstacles, you're putting the obstacles down. Cessation. Nirodho is santaṃ, paṇītaṃ. It is peaceful, it is sublime. And all of this, these are synonyms and adjectives, depending on which word, for Nibbāna. Nibbāna, the highest peace, the highest happiness. If you want to learn more about Nibbāna, we had a video a few weeks ago about 155 different synonyms or other names for Nibbāna. So it's a long list. It's about half an hour just reading the list. I wouldn't be offended if you listened on 2 times or even 3 times speed. Or if you're feeling like you're wanting to go in a more calming mood, you could even listen to it on half speed. So yeah, just see if you can memorize this. It's been chanted. It was chanted or recited, teaching given by the Buddha, and it's been recited by every generation of monk, every generation of nun, bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, and almost certainly every generation of laymen and laywomen in through the whole course of the Buddha's teaching right up to the present. So you can continue that wholesome chain and see what it does to your life, see what it does to your meditation, how it flavors, how it affects the tone of your body and your mind as you meditate, and just throughout the day. I mean, why do we just have to be completely obsessed with our mental train, most of which we're not even following, we're not even on the train, it's just running over us. But see if you can introduce this new passenger into the train, that Etaṃ santaṃ, Etaṃ paṇītaṃ, yadidaṃ, sabba-saṅkhāra-samatho, sabb-ūpadhi-paṭinissaggo, taṇhā-kkhayo, virāgo, nirodho, Nibbānanaṁ. This is peaceful, this is sublime. That is the stilling of all activities, the relinquishing of all acquisitions, the destruction of craving, dispassion, cessation, Nibbāna. So yeah, we can go to questions. Hope everyone is able to find some peace with that on an ongoing basis. So it's good to see friends here on YouTube. And our first question, what did the Buddha say about hoping for the best Ajahn? Can someone give dana and get, maybe there's a comma before Ajahn. Can someone give dana and get results in this very life, for example, to get well from chronic illness or to have longevity by giving dana? Yeah, okay, I think I get the question. So what did the Buddha say about hoping for the best? And perhaps the instances that you give are specifically around health or longevity. It could also maybe be wealth on a worldly level. Beauty, what did the Buddha say about hoping for these things? The Buddha didn't say that you necessarily have to abandon all of these good hopes, these wholesome or at least not necessarily unwholesome hopes. Like, who doesn't want health for themselves and their family? Even if it's just to continue practicing Dhamma, these are totally reasonable. But the Buddha redefined how to hope for these things, the realistic expectation of achieving these things, and how to go about achieving these hopes. So but even just the hope themselves, like wanting that, can be wholesome if it's attended by a similarly wholesome desire to put the causes in which will manifest these hoped for things. Put in the causes for health, which on a really practical level is just looking after the body, taking care of what you eat, not giving yourself the right amount of sleep, meditation is great for health, for family harmony, putting in the causes, not backbiting, not speaking harshly um, to family members and friends. And the connection between dana and getting results in the very life. The Buddha did say, that we do a chant, which is from the Dhammapada, I think verse number 109 or 110, that Abhivadana silisa niccang buddhapachino chattaro dhamma vadanti ayuvano sukhang balang. For those who are respectful, who always honor the elders, people who offer gifts, offer dana, 4 are the qualities which will increase life, beauty, happiness, and strength. So the cause is giving, and these 4 are the results. And did the Buddha guarantee there that you'll experience those results in this present life? He didn't, but it certainly can manifest in that way. I know people who have gone into medical profession and will donate their time, their expertise, their skill. And certainly if you're giving of medicine, giving of care to other people, there will be the tendency to be cared for by others as well, even in this very life. And can you say that the results will be certain? Not necessarily. But when you're kind and generous, people like you. And when people like you, people take care of you. And even if you're not taking care of yourself, when other people care about you, then it has a tendency to lift oneself up and make you care more about yourself. So a little bit indirect, but certainly there's a lot of connection there. So great question. Some teachers say that Nibbāna is a type of consciousness. Others reject this view, saying it contradicts the suttas. What is your view on this matter, Ajahn? So it's somewhat linguistic. So you find in the Anatta-lakkhana Sutta, traditionally the second discourse the Buddha gave, where it said that all consciousness should, whether it's gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, internal or external, all consciousness should be, by means of right wisdom, be seen as it really is thus. This is not mine, I am not this is not myself. It is impermanent. All consciousness is impermanent, and all consciousness, using the word vijnana, is it entails unsatisfactoriness. That said, there are, I believe, in the Dhammacakka Sutta, the first discourse, or maybe even in that same discourse, it's said that when someone achieves arhatship, in case of these suttas, it will be the first 5 disciples. When someone achieves at least sotapanna, or maybe the first stage of enlightenment or enlightenment, that there is the knowledge, the holy life has been lived out. There is no more coming into any state of being. There is the knowledge. So the question arises validly, if knowledge arises, couldn't you say, isn't that a definition for consciousness, that knowing something? Or just looking at, arhat disciples of the Buddha, or the Buddha himself. It's not like he attained enlightenment and all these arhats attain enlightenment and then they just drop dead and can't know anything, can't feel anything, just become rocks or something. So they still use consciousness for sure, but is Nibbāna consciousness? It's not vijnana. It's not vijnana, which means consciousness. But there is a knowing that can know Nibbāna. So, sorry, I don't think I gave the best answer, but I think maybe the best answer is for us to just work towards that direction, and we'll see what knows Nibbāna, and if Nibbāna is a type of knowing or a consciousness when we get there. So, Ajahn, this is a phrase I like a lot and know it by heart. Thank you for this topic. Beautiful. Yes, it's a very well-known topic. I just learned, I had a wonderful meeting today with Ayya Santusika, Ayya Chetananda, and I guess Anagarika Sarana, of the Karuna Buddhist Vihara, and Aya Santuska was just telling me that Ajahn Pasano gave her this as her contemplation. She's going to be going into 3 months retreat, and this was his suggestion for a contemplative and meditative and stillness-inducing device for the whole of that retreat. So yeah, it's very well known, and yeah, really beautiful. So I'm glad to hear that you know it, and would recommend it for anyone who's at all curious. Or even if you're not curious, just use it as a memorization exercise. Yeah, why not? So bringing our inner peace to the surface. Beautiful. Yeah. And something I find actually with this mantra and others, but especially this one, I mean, you've got several roots in the Pāli which point to this stilling and this relaxation. I find this a very visceral mantra, a very visceral verse, in that from the very first word, which is just a pronoun, Etaṃ, this, it brings me back into the body. It turns attention around, taking this backward step. This is sublime. This is peaceful. The letting go, letting go, the relaxation, the samatha, and just the surface level of the physical body, my body, just relaxes. It's easier to relax the surface musculature than it is the deeper tissues. And words have that power. Samatha, 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 the relaxation. So yeah, bringing inner peace to the surface of the body, and certainly to the surface of the mind. Ajahn, do you think the sabba-saṅkhāra-samatho could mean the cessation of the three formations of body, speech, and mind that occur in the attainment of cessation of perception and feeling? Certainly, yes, sankhara. There is a discourse. I believe the shorter or longer Vedala Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, perhaps where Sister Dhammadina is asked, what are the types of sankhara? And she says that sankharas are of three types: the sankharas or formations of body, the sankhara of speech, the sankhara of mind, and samatha is just the relaxation. It's interesting. So samatho is here, it's forming as it's occurring as a noun, which suggests that it's actually saying that it's a synonym for Nibbāna. That said, so officially, grammatically, this is pointing towards the highest peace, our goal in the path. But I don't think that has to undercut our ability to use the mantra, to use the phrases, to use the individual words, to just use the roots, samatha, relaxation, as skillful means, as instrumental tools for wherever we're at. Would it apply to cessation? So the word for cessation of perception and feeling is sanya vedita nirodha. So actually, probably you might be able to make a better case that the word nirodha, which occurs later on in the phrase, could occur to that. But really, that's also occurring as a synonym for Nibbāna. But again, just play around with these things and find how they're useful in the present moment, because that's where we will find peace. That's where Nibbāna is, in the present moment. Bhante, why does the mind try to seek peace in samsara instead of Nibbāna? It's a great question. What causes the upadana, the attachment, the clinging to that which is not Nibbāna? Well, the Buddha said that there is gratification. We do find an asada, a gratification in sights, sounds, smells, taste, touch. There is a gratification in these things, the Buddha said. If there was not, then we wouldn't crave after them. We wouldn't become attached to them. But because there is some kind of gratifications, like cookies taste good, or I don't want to say cheesecake, because last time I said cheesecake, everybody kind of gave me cheesecake for a month, or at least that's what it seemed like. But these things taste good. Good smells smell good. Beautiful sights are beautiful. And so there is a level of gratification in there. So that's, yeah, unfortunately, we don't have more time to get into there now. But um, yeah, one last question because it's easy. Can you recommend a good textbook, grammar, and dictionary for learning Pali? Uh, I just there's a video on our channel called something like 4 great resources for learning Pali. So you can check that out. That's really great. A book is, I think, reading the Buddha's discourses in Pali, which is a yellow book by Vijayasekara. I might be getting the name wrong, both of the title and the author. But it's a yellow book. And Bhikkhu Bodhi, the great thing about that is that Bhikkhu Bodhi has a whole audio course describing it. So recommend that. But yeah, it's great to see everyone. And we'll be moving over to Zoom now. So you can find a link on the Clear Mountain website, which I'll put basically just clearmountainmonastery.org. And you go to the calendar. And for today, you'll see a Wednesday evening Zoom. You just click on that link. And yep, it's a more intimate place where we can share Dhamma. It's great to see people's reflections and questions, but over there on Zoom, we actually can interact and hear the group's wisdom, and it's kind of crowdsourcing our happiness and understanding of all our different dukkhas. So it's a really great forum. So I encourage anybody who's curious to go over there, and wish everybody a good week. Ajahn Nisabo is going to be in at St. Mark's as usual on Saturday, and then he comes to Abhayagiri. This Saturday is actually Vaisakha Puja, the Buddha's Enlightenment Day. But Ajahn Nisabo will be joining me at Abhayagiri on Sunday, and both of us will be at St. Mark's the following weekend. So wish everybody a good evening, and maybe see you at Zoom. And if not, have a good week.